You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
What has been labelled as the worst Naxal attack in 4 years. As many as 22 security forces personnel were killed and 31 others were injured on 3rd April in an encounter with armed Maoists in a forest along the border between Bijapur and Sukma districts in Chhattisgarh. Bodies of 17 security personnel have so far been recovered from Bijapur. Out of the total 22 deaths, 8 were from the Central Reserve Police Force (CRPF), 8 from the District Reserve Guard (DRG), and 6 from the Special Task Force (STF). Out of the 31 injured personnel, 16 belong to the CRPF. The CRPF has also announced that one constable named Rakeshwar Singh Manhas of the elite CoBRA unit of the CRPF was missing. However, according to media reports, the Jawan is being held captive by the Maoists. It is important to note that this was no tiny operation. A contingent of 1,500 troops had launched a search and destroy operation along the border of Bijapur and Sukma after getting inputs about Naxal presence in that area. The contingent was ambushed by a group of around 400 Maoists, possibly led by wanted leader Madvi Hidma of the People's Liberation Guerrilla Army. However, questions are now being raised if there was an intelligence or an operational failure after a report from the Indian Express quoted several police personnel who were involved in the gun battle, stating that they were blindsided by the Naxals. So in today's episode, we will try to ascertain what kind of intelligence is required to mount a security force like the one in Bijapur, the misconceptions about the Naxals, and the fundamentals of battling that group. To discuss all this for today's episode, I spoke with Dr. N.C. Asthana, a retired IPS officer who has been the DGP of Guerrilla and a long-time ADG CRPF and BSF. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you, and I'm your host, Himmat. As I stated earlier, this was a massive operation. It included the STF, the DRG, the District Force of Chhattisgarh Police, the CRPF, and its elite CoBRA unit, with close to 1,000 personnel from Bijapur alone. According to a senior security officer who spoke to PTI, the mission was carried out after intelligence inputs were received that Naxals were carrying out their Tactical Counter-Offensive Campaign (TCOC) in the Jagargunda, Jongagunda, Tarim axis, which, to give some geographical context, is located in the southern part of the state, near the border of Telangana. According to an Indian Express report, 6 teams of the security force were launched on the night of 2nd April, and the operation plan for them was to travel to Alipunda and Jonagunda, 11 to 12 kilometers south of the Tarim camp respectively, and were to return at 6 p.m. the next day, which is 3rd April. These teams went the deepest and were the ones that came under fire. However, things didn't go as planned. Speaking to the Indian Express, a police personnel involved in the gun battle said, and I quote, "We didn't find anything when we reached the spot we were asked to reach. Once we started returning, they ambushed us." Another Jawan stated that the 2 villages that the security personnel passed, Jiragaon and Tekla Gudem, were completely empty and that they realized too late that something was wrong. The bigger question is what kind of intelligence, both human and tech, is required to commission a mission like this. Dr. N.C. Asthana, a retired IPS officer and a long-time ADG CRPF and BSF, describes the various types of intelligence and how actionable each of them are.
I will explain it. It's like this. There are 2 kinds of intelligence. First is called human intelligence. The second is called technical intelligence. Now, technical intelligence, even as it has been oversold over the years as a silver bullet, it does not really exist. You see, we have extremely costly drones like the Israeli Heron. Heron costs somewhere around 96 crores per piece. It's a strategic device. Heron flies, say, from example, from Bhilai or from Hyderabad, comes over the sky and flies at a height of nearly 15,000 feet. The problem is that even if it has got excellent optical cameras, the optical camera cannot penetrate the tree canopy. I mean, anybody has to just fly in a helicopter at, say, even at 2,000 feet and look down. Under the tree canopy, you cannot see anything. And what the human eye cannot see, the optical camera also cannot see. As simple as that. And infrareds, if you are aware, infrareds can be stopped even by a piece of paper. You put a piece of paper in front of your TV remote, it will not work. It's like this. So neither infrared imaging can work nor optical cameras can work. So such a heavy investment in all sorts of drones is a sheer waste and is an example of the intellectual bankruptcy of the entire system. You see, the drone Heron or similar drones in the US were devised for, say, maritime surveillance or surveillance in the hills where there is no vegetation. In the jungles of central India, the tree canopy is very thick. The undergrowth is small, but the tree canopy is very thick. So you really cannot see anything below it. There is not a single example, not one example, since several years when imagery by the drone succeeded in giving any intelligence worth operational value. Above all, if you see anything from the top, suppose there is an open area somewhere and you see some people sitting there, how do you decide and how do you make out that they are Naxals? And they are armed Naxals who need to be attacked with rifles. You see, the jungle is not as uninhabited as most urban people tend to think. There are many people, hundreds of thousands of people living there. Any one of those could be seen by the drones. So drone is busted, it's a hoax. It's a terrible waste of the public exchequer's money. That's number one. Second type of technical intelligence could be interception of telephones or of wireless. Is a standard technology, but defeated by the very simple fact that in the jungles there is no mobile network and they hardly ever use any mobiles. Landlines, of course, the question does not arise. And second, as far as wireless is concerned, the Naxals are also aware that wireless communication can be very easily intercepted. So this has been defeated by two means. It has been observed since years that they use wireless communication only to deliberately plant misleading information so that you fall into a trap. Okay. And second, I am not aware of any instance when they have devised any sort of complicated code. And if at all they have devised, we are not aware of. If they are using what we call in professional languages, clear, if they are talking without code, this obviously should mean that they are trying to mislead you. Nobody is fool enough to talk in simple language. Okay, so technical intelligence has got serious limitations. Then comes human intelligence. Now, what is human intelligence? In very simple English, human intelligence means you should have a mole, somebody sympathetic to you inside the organization who consciously and deliberately betrays his organization by passing on information. In simple Urdu or Hindi, we call it mukhbir or spy, if you want to understand it that way. Problem with such organizations is that which are operating largely in jungle, even if you have a mole or a plant or a mukhbir or a spy inside the organization, how in the world is he going to communicate from there? You see, he cannot keep on coming out of the jungle or on one pretext or the other. Obviously, he would make other people suspicious. Second, why in the world would somebody betray his organization if he has taken a conscious decision to join it? However, in an organization like this, where absolutely strict financial discipline is maintained, and most of the cadres are not even allowed to leave the organization for any length of time, organization or even the group they are operating in, there is no way you can subvert or corrupt somebody by paying him money. It's not possible. And for God's sake, had it been possible, Naxalism is in existence in India since 1967. That is 54 years now. Why you have not been able to do it? Because you have not been able to do it, this means that it is not possible to do it. So, in a nutshell, there is no intelligence, either human or technical.
Now, the general narrative of the Naxal forces, which is portrayed both by the media, by films, and also by politicians, is that they reside deep inside the forest and thus are difficult to capture or control. Here is Indian politician Mohan Mandvi, who was elected to the Lok Sabha in 2019 from Kankad, Chhattisgarh, reiterating the same narrative at the funeral of one of the deceased soldiers.
हमारे सैनिक संघर्ष कर रहे हैं और हमारे नेतृत्व भी बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन इतने घने जंगल के कारण कहीं न कहीं हम लोग चूक जाते हैं और वो लोग कई बार रिकी किए रहते हैं और कब कहाँ एम्बुश लगा दे, कब क्या कर दे, इनका हम जंगल के कारण इनका मुकाबला ज़्यादा नहीं कर पाते, लेकिन देर सवेरे ये सब ठीक हो जाएंगे।
But given that we are now in the 21st century with access to drones, high utility multi terrain vehicles, and the ability to drop our armed forces in any geographical area, should we be limited by the answer which Mr. Mandavi gave? Dr. Asthana believes that the narrative created in media and among the general public that the Naxal forces are hidden deep inside the jungle is nothing more but a romantic notion.
Naxals are not holding on to any area. I mean, do not let us not talk in military metaphors. Neither we have occupied any ground nor they have occupied any ground. Once again, it's a romantic notion which urban people or non-professionals harbor, that the Naxal is hiding somewhere in the jungle. No, the Naxal is neither hiding somewhere in the jungle nor he is living off the jungle. I would suggest that you read one extremely interesting book by a man called Robert Weber. The book is titled War of the Flea. This is written on such insurgent movements, War of the Flea. In this book, he has cited Chairman Mao that a guerrilla should take to population as fish takes to water. The, the precept is that a guerrilla, if he remains isolated, hiding somewhere in the jungles or in the hills, he would eventually be eliminated like Che Guevara. An ideal guerrilla should mingle with the population. He should come out only to execute some attacks. At all other times, he should be living mixed with the population. The romantic notion which people have come to harbor derives from the films based on dacoits like Sholay and such films. That Gabbar Singh is hiding somewhere. He has got an adda somewhere deep inside the jungle. And then people form a wrong notion that because the security forces are not able to reach that adda, that's why the thing is thriving. No, it is not so. Naxals, unlike the dacoits, do not remain isolated, hiding in the jungles or hills somewhere. No, they mingle with the population, they eat with the population, and come out only for committing attacks.
Besides the intelligence inputs that the Naxals were carrying out a counter-offensive campaign, what also made headlines was the alleged presence of the most wanted Naxal leader, Madvi Hidma. So who is he exactly? Hidma joined the Naxal movement in the 1990s and currently carries a reward of Rs 45 lakhs on his head. He also leads Battalion 1 of the People's Liberation Guerrilla Army, one of the most lethally armed and rigorously trained units of the Maoist active in the Sukma Bijapur region. He is suspected to be behind several Naxal operations against the Indian Armed Forces, including the infamous April 2017 attack in Sukma, in which 25 CRPF personnel were killed, and another on 11th March in the same region, in which 12 personnel of the Central Forces were killed. What is also interesting about Hidma's case is that the details of his life are very sketchy. According to media reports, there are no recent pictures of him, no details of his exact age, what is his build, and there is also a matter of dispute on his first name, whether it is Mandavi or Madvi. And not knowing these details, which are rather important, the mission in Bijapur was commissioned with the aim to capture or kill Hidma. Dr. Asthana believes that the narrative that only a few leaders are leading the entire Naxal movement is a hoax, and that the movement is more than just a geographical location.
This is once again a hoax created by the security forces. The official press release of the Chhattisgarh police also speaks of that the operation was planned to capture or kill Hidma. Once again, the security forces, in their utter ignorance and in their desire to mislead the people, are trying to create a narrative that it is only a few clever leaders who have been sustaining the movement. No, it is not possible. The movement has not survived on the strength of a few intelligent or clever leaders in the past 54 years. We are actually in a self denial mode. We are trying to deny that there are certain other factors which are responsible for the sustenance of the movement. For example, before Ganpati, who used to be the general secretary of the CPI Maoist for a very long time, before he retired, everybody in the establishment was hanging on to the narrative that it's only Ganpati who is responsible for doing all this. He retired at a ripe old age because of some ailments which had been bothering him. And the ultimate ignominy is that we have not been able to nab him even in his retirement. When the man has retired from active fighting, he is living somewhere and nobody has any idea where he is. So even after Ganpati has faded out of the scene, the movement is going on strong. This means Ganpati was not as critical as he is made out to be. Similarly, Hidma is not as critical as he is made out to be. Suppose we kill Hidma tomorrow. Will that be the end of the Naxal movement? The DGCRPF also has made a statement which is stating the obvious that the villagers must have given them the tip off. For God's sake, who else could have? There are no angels or demons in the forest who are giving information to them. It's only the locals who give. That's common sense. You don't have to state this. Whereas the converse has never happened. In say, the matter intensified since 2007. It was very much there, or say 2004 when the PWG and the MCC. Since 2004, has there been a single instance anywhere when a villager or a group of villagers came to the security forces, touched their feet and said, Ki my baap, Naxal is harassing us so much, please do something? It has never happened. Why? Why don't we introspect on this? Nobody has ever given any information about the Naxals. And in fact, had they given, the operations would have been successful. The very fact that operations have been repeatedly unsuccessful means that nobody is giving intelligence to us. Why he is not giving to us? Have they reached what we call in Latin as modus vivendi with the Naxals, or what? These are non-military questions which must be addressed. Why are we averse to addressing them?
Dr. Asthana believes that the very fact that the forces were taken by surprise proves that the leadership requires a serious rethink and that the forces need to admit that there are practical problems in the solutions being offered right now. Here is Dr. Asthana weighing in on the core issues that are not being addressed by the CRPF.
You see, the whole approach is misdirected. The muscular approach, which has been re-emphasized by certain functionaries of the government after this incident also, hum safaya kar denge, that sort of thing. That sort of narrative has not worked since 1967. What has prevented? Legally, they are criminals, they are firing upon you, you are very much entitled to finish them off. Okay, what has prevented you? What has taken you 54 years? What has taken you so many years? It was in 1954 that the Naga insurgency started. Why could you not finish them off? So instead of admitting that there are practical problems in a military solution to the problem, we keep on boasting. Hum ye kar denge, hum wo kar denge, that sort of thing. It does not really inspire any confidence. You see, the official figure you may be able to take from satp.org, but approximately 100 battalions of the paramilitary are deployed in anti-Naxal operations. Is that a small figure? And if that is not adequate, what else could be? So sources of the problem are elsewhere. The very approach of area domination is misleading. This is once again a military metaphor that your camp is based at place X, and from place X to a radius of Y kilometers, you want to dominate the area. And in this case, as you very painfully discovered that even from a radius of 6 kilometers, you were not able to dominate. 400 armed criminals were available just 6 kilometers from your camp, and you were not able to dominate that. So this very concept of area domination is a farce. It won't work. You see, Naxalism is not merely a military problem. It's a very complex problem with social, economical, political dimensions. And for God's sake, nobody should give that UPSC type of answer that there is a trust deficit, that there is a governance deficit, that there is a development deficit. Leave this to the civil service aspirants. You are aware of all such things. They have been repeatedly emphasized in government orders. Why they have not taken place, and if they have taken place, why they have not been effective. As simple as that. The fact that there is a development deficit, that there is a governance deficit, there is a trust deficit, is standard UPSC answer. Why it has not worked? And if it has worked, why such things are happening? You see, these guys are in a bind. Nobody would like to admit that is a fool. Simple. Once they admit they are fools, then they can proceed forward.
As Dr. Asthana said, the current solutions to the Naxal movement in India do not aspire confidence, which leads to the bigger question. Are our casualties avoidable in the Naxal-infected areas? If you liked listening to this episode, please subscribe to The Big Story for episodic updates. We're available on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website, and for any feedback, please shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.